Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday, April 12th. A much chillier morning here in the Mid-Atlantic region compared to the past couple of mornings. We have an onshore flow of air. Winds are out of the northeast at the lower levels of the atmosphere. Temperatures dropped overnight into the 40s in many of the suburban locations along the I-95 corridor region. That follows cold frontal passage late last night that touched off some strong thunderstorms in the Mid-Atlantic region. Really, we're in an unsettled and much cooler weather pattern now going forward, probably not only for the next several days, but maybe for the next couple of weeks, right through the remainder of the month of April. We've talked over the past several days about the North Atlantic Oscillation Teleconnection Index going into negative territory, and it remains in negative territory right now. Looks like it will continue to remain in negative territory for the next several days. And this time of the year, that suggests continuation of cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. Indeed, we have the chance for a nor'easter type of storm later this week. And this is actually the snowfall estimate from the Zero-Z GFS model run for this potential nor'easter type storm. We're talking probably Thursday time frame. Several inches of snow possible all the way in the higher elevation regions of southeastern New York, upstate New York, and even into northeastern Pennsylvania. Again, this is just a threat right now, but it's definitely something that's on the table because of the overall weather pattern. We have colder air that really poured down from Alaska into western Canada over the last few days, and at least a piece of that cold air mass is now working its way into the U.S., and this is a possibility for later in the week as a nor'easter forms along the Mid-Atlantic New England coastline. And certainly this time of the year it's much more favorable to get snow in interior higher elevation locations, but this is definitely something we'll watch out for over the next couple of days. Well, last week we talked about the negative NAO and how that generally leads to a strong blocking pattern over Greenland or northeastern part of Canada, which in turn allows for the outbreak of cold air in the central and eastern U.S. Look at the 500 millibar height anomalies as we begin the day here on Monday morning. This is way above the normal for heights, and this translates to very strong high pressure as well at the surface. It's pretty much off the charts here in terms of the strength of this particular abnormal area of a blocking pattern, abnormal higher pressure compared to normal. Again, purple here showing up, and underneath we have not only one but a couple different waves, low pressure, upper level low pressure, and they'll contribute to an unsettled weather pattern over the next several days, and in fact can set off the development of a nor'easter during the mid-latter part of the week, let's say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame. Well, let's push forward here with these forecast maps from the Zero-Z GFS model run as we go through the day today. Here's that continuation of a blocking pattern over northeastern Canada into Greenland by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, and very active underneath that broad ridge that cuts across all of Canada. We have upper level troughiness cutting across much of the U.S. 1, 2, 3 separate systems here by Tuesday evening. And here we go, by the time we get into Wednesday evening, very strong upper level feature over the Great Lakes, and that could set off the formation of a strong low pressure area off the Mid-Atlantic coastline that could end up near the New England coastline. And again, higher elevation interior locations such as northeastern Pennsylvania, southeastern New York, and maybe farther north than that can even get some accumulating snow out of this later in the week. And let's move forward here. Very, very impressive upper level feature here supporting a potential nor'easter at the surface. And look at this, this strings out all the way from the North Atlantic into the eastern U.S. and all the way into the western U.S., and all dominated by some higher pressure over Canada and a very strong anomalous pattern over Alaska. And all of this allows some very cold air for this time of the year to spill over into the central and eastern U.S. Certainly it's in a modified form compared to what it they experienced in Alaska. They had some of the coldest temperatures ever recorded in the month of April over the past several days in Alaska. And again, a piece of that cold air outbreak is now working its way into the U.S. Well, we can track the movement of that cold air mass here by looking at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies here as we begin the work week here on Monday morning. This is from the 0Z run of the operational version of the GFS. And here is the colder than normal air in much of the northwestern quadrant of the nation. And just watch as we do have an onshore flow already formed in the northeastern part of the nation. That'll keep us cooler than normal today, perhaps tomorrow as well. We've talked about that negative NAO often resulting in kind of a backdoor cold front. Indeed, that's kind of the situation we're in right now in Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, a northeast flow that tends to form on the other side of a backdoor cold front that pushed from the northeast to the southwest. And that's what the explanation is for this cooler than normal air. And this is the air mass that really impacted Alaska, now is moving to the south and east in a modified form, but still well below normal for this time of the year. This is Tuesday morning, and watch what happens as we get into the mid and latter part of the week. Spills over into the mid-Atlantic region so that by the time we get to Thursday evening, colder than normal conditions extend all the way from the mid-Atlantic coastline into the interior western U.S. And again, there can be a nor'easter dealing with or utilizing this cold air mass to produce some snow in some of those interior higher elevation locations. Let's keep moving forward here, and definitely not looking like a warm springtime pattern by any means across the central and eastern U.S. And again, that NAO signaled this possibility for the middle and latter part of April. This happens to be Friday afternoon, the middle of the month, April 16th. And unfortunately, if we go forward here, right through the remainder of April, it looks like we're not going to shake this colder weather pattern off before the end of the month here, and maybe even into May. Look at this. This is now April 22nd, and still much below normal here across much of Canada into the northeastern U.S., and that just sticks around here all the way out to the end of the month here. Look at this, all the way into April 25th. Some colder than normal conditions throughout much of the central and eastern U.S. Well, now let's take a look at the radar reflectivities on the operational run of the GFS from 0Z. Have some patchy drizzle, maybe an occasional shower today in the mid-Atlantic region following those strong thunderstorms of last night. Again, a low-level northeast flow of air will keep temperatures well below normal. New York City, Philadelphia, even into D.C., much cooler than yesterday and a little bit cooler than normal all the way down to the D.C. metro region. Look at all this snow. Here we are, almost the middle part of April with a lot of snow up across the northern plains, south central Canada. That's associated with that cold air outbreak that first went through Alaska, then slid to the south and east, now moving into the heartland of the U.S. And here we go over the next couple of days. Maybe a patchy drizzle, occasional shower today, tonight, into tomorrow. A bit milder on Tuesday, but then we start seeing that colder air spread to the east, and low pressure will form near the coastline. Look at this right here. By Thursday morning, we have a low pressure area. Remember, this is the same time that upper level features moving overhead and intensifying. The same time that colder air mass is spreading into the east. And watch what happens here as we get into Thursday night time frame. Blues showing up here. There's some of those higher elevation locations right here across southeastern New York, northeastern Pennsylvania, perhaps all the way into the New York City region, perhaps even into east central PA and maybe the far northern suburbs of Philadelphia. Could be some snowflakes later in the week. Again, we're dealing with generally a Thursday night time frame for this potential nor'easter. We go into the latter part of the week, and here we go by Friday afternoon. It starts to move up along the New England coastline again. The threat for some snow over some of those higher elevation interior locations. And look at this, still more cold air out across the Rockies and into the central plains with more snow as we get into the middle part of April. So a much cooler weather pattern, really setting up for much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation, not only for the bulk of this week, but perhaps in the next week and right through the remainder of the month of April. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.